Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to be here with you. Buenas tardes, and welcome to Primary Power, the Latina Vote. I'm Hatsune Aguilar with Communities for a New California Action Fund. We like to call ourselves CNC for short. Communities for a New California is a civic engagement organization, and we build power across California, and especially in our rural areas of the Sierra Foothills, the Central and San Joaquin Valleys, and the Coachella Valley. And we know, our families know, that our neighbors know that we deserve to thrive where we live, to feel safe, and to be able to afford where we live, to drink clean drinking water, and to have fulfilling jobs that pay us well. And to do that, we know that disrupting this system that currently excludes, steals, and exploits regular people like us is a must. And this is important because we all want to prosper equally. So we're so proud to partner with Courage California this evening to host our town hall with Pro Bono ASL providing ASL access. Thank you so much. We will focus on the power Latina voters bring and influence elections, including California's presidential primary, which will take place on March 5th. By now, active registered voters should have or will be receiving their vote by mail ballots. So please keep your eyes on your mailbox. And I'm thrilled to know that so many of you are joining us here today because you are what it's all about. And for the first time, we know Latinos are the largest ethnic group in the state. And as you know, when we think about Latino power, we actually should be talking about Latina power because 1 in every 6 California voters is a Latina, and that's 3.2 million of us. However, if we just think about, for instance, from Sacramento to Bakersfield, the supervisors, there's 45, but only 4 are women and only 2 are Latinas. And that's a problem. We are Latinas, the shoppers, the decision makers, the project managers. When we know that we need help with getting something done, who do we turn to? We turn to our mama, our tias, our comadres, because we know that they're the ones who know what's up. So also our voting research tells us that we are registered to vote more than Latinos, and we actually turn out to vote more than our Latino counterparts. So since 2021, as background, CNC has been highlighting Latinas throughout the state that are luciendo or shining brightly by organizing, advocating, and voting for policies that uplift their neighborhoods. So we are also taking a moment now to launch our Lucete Latina video series. And we are showcasing a dozen powerful Latinas who are creating the world as it should be, whether right here in the Central Valley, the Coachella Valley, and Los Angeles. Throughout today's webinar, we will share some of those short Lucete Latina videos, and we will discuss the power that Latina voters have to shape the state into a home for our families with the help of Lisa Garcia Bedoya from Data for Social Good, Karina Martinez from CNC, and Angela Chavez from Courage California. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A session so you can ask our speakers any questions or share any reflections that they have provoked. But for now, you can, of course, share your questions as we continue in the Q&A tool on the Zoom. With that said, let's go ahead and get started and share our Lucete Latina pilot. Lucete, and we all shine. Did you know you are the most important person in your neighborhood? You who loves your family, you who loves your neighbors, you who champions for access to clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, you who promotes access to healthcare and affordable housing. Lucete, for you and everything you care about. You who lives in the valley, Lucete, and we all shine. We are the spark that brought about 3 Latino majority congressional districts in the San Joaquin Valley. We are the spark that will continue to make change in our neighborhoods by voting, by organizing, registering, and mobilizing others to vote to help our families thrive in the valley. Lucete, and we all shine. I love how powerful this is, and it just makes me feel so excited about our Latina sisters, and Lisa Garcia Bedoya, president of Data for Social Good. I'm so happy to have you follow that. We're seeing the growth of eligible Latina voters and just how important it is for us to shine. I know Data for Social Good is a nonprofit focused on uplifting underrepresented voices during and in between elections to ensure effective and accountable governance. I can't think of a better person to come and talk to us. And I know you're also a professor in the Berkeley School of Education. Thank you for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Hatsune, and thanks to everyone who took the time to join us today. And so that growth in Latina eligible voters that Hatsune just referenced is really part of a larger demographic trend in the United States. Every 30 seconds in the United States, a Latino turns 18 and becomes eligible to vote. And as many know, this is a fast-growing community that has, unfortunately, some of the lowest rates of voter registration and turnout. And when I say that, I don't want that to be pathologizing. I don't want to say that there's something wrong with this community or that there's something wrong with voters, but rather that they have really good reasons for not feeling like the political process is the place where they should be spending their time. And so we need to give them really good reasons to engage, and that Latinas are really key to that process. And so the intersection of racial identification, gender identity, and age are really important when to think about engaging this community politically. And that roughly across the United States, Latinas, as Hatsune mentioned, register and vote at higher rates than Latino men. Usually it's roughly about 5%. But at least in California, and particularly in the Central Valley, that seems to be growing. So just to provide some context, some numbers to put that in context, statewide in California, and we're going to look at 2020 because that's most analogous to the election that's coming up. Latino voters tend to vote in presidentials more than they vote in midterm elections, like all Americans. And so 2020 is the best point of reference. And so we have roughly 4.3 million Latina women who are citizen voting age population in California. So people who are over 18 and citizen, and about 3.3 million of those are registered to vote. And there are roughly a similar number. There's about 4.2 million men, but only about 2.8 million of those are registered to vote. And so the gap, is roughly 7%, 7 percentage points in registration. And then in terms of turnout, those numbers shrink again in terms of the overall number. So roughly 2.4 million women turned out to vote, Latino women turned out to vote in 2020, but only about 1.8 million Latino men. And so that gap grew to over 12% in terms of actual voter turnout in 2020. So showing why Latina voters are so important to Latino political power in the state of California. In the Central Valley, the story is similar. You have roughly a 6 percentage point difference in terms of voter registration. So roughly 426,000 Latina women are registered to vote compared to 362,000 Latino men. And then the turnout difference in 2020 was about 12%. And so again, really, these are the folks, Latinas are the folks that are the most engaged in politics and the ones who are really making their voices heard at the ballot box. Looking at the Coachella Valley, you have similar demographics where you have roughly 71% of folks living in the Coachella Valley in 2022 are of Latino origin, and the distribution in terms of registration and turnout are the same. And so clearly Latina political engagement is absolutely key to the political future in the Coachella Valley, in the Central Valley, and in the state of California. It's important to note that these gender differences do vary across age groups. And so they can be bigger or smaller depending on whether you're talking about young voters or older voters, but the differences exist across all age groups. I should note they actually exist across all racial groups. And so it's important to think of why this is. And what I have argued in my work is it's really important to think about what does gender represent? And this is not to say that all men behave the same and all women behave the same, or that this is somehow biological because these happen to be women versus men, or people identify as women versus men. But it's really about how folks are socialized in their life, what it is that they're taught that they need to care about, what their orientation is to the world, and that by and large, and of course, these things are not absolute. I'm not trying to be gender essentialist in any way. Women are raised, or little girls are raised, and folks who identify as women are raised to have a more communitarian orientation. They are told that they are going to be mothers, that they're going to be responsible for families, and that experience, at least in terms of how our respondents, our female identified respondents talk about politics, is that they have a much more communitarian orientation. They want to talk about taking care of the group. They want to talk about taking care of the communities, that they extrapolate from their sense of purpose and role within their families and say, but that's my block, or that's my neighborhood, or those are my people, and that they really have that orientation of care that they bring to politics. And so then while male identified respondents, even though they still might care about the same things, the way they frame it is in a more individualist frame. And so that affects then what kinds of political activity they tend to want to be involved in. And that by and large, women, particularly as they get older, Latinas have more robust and dense networks of friends, community members, family members than Latinos do, and that those actually have been mobilized at different points of time for political purpose. And so that those networks, that connective tissue, that Latinas really are the ones kind of bringing together the congregation with the school, with the family, with the block, with the neighborhood, and making sure that people are getting together and they're having food and doing all those things, that those connections actually can become quite meaningful in the political sphere. And what they do more than anything is they help build trust. And so if you're having political conversation with somebody that's in one of those networks, that's someone that you care about, that is connected to you, that you understand their life experiences, you're much more likely to take seriously what they tell you about politics. And what we've seen, particularly since COVID in our focus groups and other research, is that Americans in general are fundamentally distrustful of their elected officials. They're feeling less trusting of the political system in general, and that this is a moment where we really need folks to feel good about and confident in the political process, and that Latinas, through those connections, through those networks, are able to be really impactful, trusted messengers to help people see a path forward into the political system and really see politics as something that should matter to them and that they should take seriously. And so appreciating that while the issues may be the same between Latina women and Latino men, how they're motivated is different, and how they're connected to other people is different. And all of that is why Latinas are such a powerful force in California politics. So if you want to know what your sort of average Latina in the Central Valley looks like, she's probably in her early 30s. She likely speaks English at home. There's roughly a 42% chance that she's married. If she has children, then that likelihood of being married goes up to 53%. She's most likely to work in the fields of education, the legal field, the community service, the arts, or occupations related to media. And even though it is true that the Latino population in California and the United States is not monolithic by national origin, there's a lot of diversity in terms of the countries where people come from. At least in the Central Valley, over 90% of those Latinas are of Mexican origin. Doesn't mean that they're immigrants, though. The vast majority are actually US born, and the population growth and growth in the citizen voting age population that we referenced at the beginning is actually due to birth rates among folks that are in the United States. There's been a transition in California. For many, many years, we were an immigrant entry point. Because of cost of living and other changes in labor markets, we are no longer. But our Latino community is more US born and tends to be more English dominant. That's been a change over the last 2 decades. Another reason for that population growth is that on average, Latinos are younger than other US populations. And so those folks turning 18 are happening every year. And that means we need a continual voter education and integration program here in California in order to make sure that all those 18-year-olds are up to speed, that they feel comfortable going to the ballot box, that they feel confident, that they know what they need to know in order to engage in politics, and that they really feel like their voices matter in that process. And as any of you who are organizers know, it's getting harder and harder to contact folks, to have those face-to-face, in-depth conversations that we know are so important in order to move people to be part of the political process. And so we're going to need to come up with different strategies. And I believe that leveraging Latinas and their networks and the fact that they are key nodes, right, within their communities in terms of connecting with lots of people, they're going to be the ones that need to be putting out the message and talking to people and making sure that we're able to mobilize and empower the Latino community in the Central Valley and statewide. And so I mentioned a little bit about issues that motivate Latinas. We've been doing some polling in the Central Valley for a number of years. And among the top 3 issues that Latinos care about is affordable housing. The main concern is how high rent is and what that means in terms of families in their communities and their inability to be able to not only find quality housing, but be able to afford it in the long term. And you'll see in the next segment how it is that housing matters to Latinas in the Valley.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I think just what you talked about around our connective tissue is so amazing to really behold. And, you know, when we talk about needing to give Latinas a good reason to engage, can't think of something that's more top of mind than affordable housing, like you said. So we'll go ahead and share this affordable housing video, which features Samantha Valadez.
Lucete. My name is Samantha Valadez and I am the Field Director for Communities for a New California and I reside in Bakersfield, California. The problems that I work to solve with Communities for a New California are the very same issues that impact Latina families on a daily basis, which include access to healthcare, access to affordable housing. And when we uplift these issues, we uplift entire communities, entire neighborhoods. Latina women are extremely powerful here in the Central Valley. We are also the ones that educate our family members and neighbors when it's time to vote. But at the same time, we're also experiencing the economic fallout of the pandemic and also the housing crisis that keeps pushing our families from the places that we call home. The Latino population continues to grow, and that means that there's more Latina women being decision makers in our households. So Latina women will play an essential role in the future of California. Lucete Latina. Lucete on election day.
Awesome. So something that you said, Lisa, was we need our Latina women. We need you to be the spokespeople in your households, with your friends, with your families. You are trusted. There's, in fact, nobody who's more trusted in your household than you. So it's really important. And when we talk about affordable housing and we talk about these issues, we want to think about how it translates down to the ballot. So the March primary, March 5th, when you're going out to vote and you're thinking about your top issue, affordable housing, we want you to look for those housing champions on your ballot. So if we're talking about city council, we know some housing champions are Isabel Jurado in District 14 and Nithya Raman in District 4 in Los Angeles. They're both running. And then LA Voices, Pastor Eddie Anderson in District 10 is also running for Los Angeles City Council. And then here locally in Sacramento, we have Dr. Flo. She's running for Sacramento mayor. Again, do your research. Genevieve Jones-Wright is running for mayor in San Diego. And then going up the ballot, right? We want to be voting, want to fill out our ballot completely. So look for all of your opportunities to fill in the bubble. And if you need help, you ask your mom, you ask your sister, you ask your best friend, you ask your comadre. We're all here in this together. But for supervisor, we know in Alameda County, Jen Esteen is running for District 4, Nikki Bass in District 2. For assembly, we know Monica Wilson is running for Assembly District 15. That covers Antioch, Brentwood, Clayton, Concord, Martinez, and more. And actually, she's endorsed by Courage California, so thumbs up for her. And then moving on, also Matt Haney in Assembly District 17, covering San Francisco, Javier Hernandez in Assembly District 53, going to the Inland Empire, also endorsed by Courage California, Isaac Bryan in Assembly District 55, covering some parts of Los Angeles, also a Courage California All-Star, as we like to call them. And then Tina McKinner in Assembly District 61, also covering portions of Los Angeles like Inglewood and Hawthorne. And Jackie Elward is running for Senate in Senate District 3, covering some of Contra Costa, Napa, Sacramento, Solano, Sonoma, and Yolo counties, also endorsed by Courage California, along with Marisol Rubio in Senate District 9, which covers Concord, San Leandro, and so many more places. Kit Mueller in Senate District 23, covering some of northern Los Angeles County and part of San Bernardino County. Sasha Renee Perez in Senate District 25. Also, that district covers portions of Los Angeles and San Bernardino counties, including Pasadena, San Gabriel. So really worth checking how the issue of housing is showing up on the ballot. This isn't just a concept, it's real life. These people are going to be making decisions that are going to affect us and our families and our friends and our neighbors. And so it's really important. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Karina Martinez from CNC. She's one of my colleagues. And also you are here representing our median age Latina voter. I'm revealing you now, but also, you know, somebody who we admire. You're one of our 1 in 6 voters, right? We know there are 3.2 million of us, and you are definitely one of them. So thank you so much for being here and telling us more about youth voter mobilization.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Karina Martinez. I'm thrilled to join you tonight. I am proud to be one of the 3.2 million registered Latina voters in California. I'm also in the category of females who are outdoing our male counterparts at the polls. So in addition, I worked on campaigns that have focused on mobilizing the youth vote, and I'm here to share a little bit more about the power of the young Latina vote, how we're changing elections, and also to encourage other Latinas like myself to get active in elections. So first, how do we know that the young vote is powerful? If you can't remember all of the data that was just mentioned, jump onto TikTok and find President Joe Biden. Last year, this administration threatened to ban all of TikTok and forbid federal agencies from having TikTok on their government accounts, if anybody can remember. But TikTok is where young voters want to spend their time. So the president of the most powerful country on earth basically had to cave to youth. Seeing Biden on TikTok is symbolic of your power. The president adapted his whole plan because he can't win the election without young voters. But, you know, during this conversation, we've learned that this isn't about just TikTok. It's about our families. It's about the power that young people have to change our communities. We've seen a lot of campaigns, and I'm also proud to be involved with the campaigns, some of these to get out the young vote. And they have amazing strategies that incorporate youth culture. We've seen some have voter registration drives at quinceañeras. We've seen others host cabalgatas. I know that we're going to have a cabalgata pretty soon here in Fresno. CNC has also engaged people through movie theater ads and leveraging our cultural connections at Hispanic markets and a lot more. And California has also long recognized the importance of youth participation in elections. We have online pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds at registertovote.ca.gov. When you pre-register to vote, you're automatically registered to vote on your 18th birthday. They also have pre-registration information available in English and Spanish, as well as in 8 other languages. So California is trying to make it easy to vote. We know our young population matters. We know we want to get them involved. And as young people, we've already been impacted by decisions made at the polls. For example, what type of school funding you have, and if it includes things like extracurricular activities or a free lunch, that's a decision made at the polls. How nice or not nice the roads and sidewalks are to get to school or to get to home, or how well lit your neighborhood is. Policies dictating when you can work, what types of permits you need, the cost of higher education, what types of punishments young people could be subjected to by law, and even whether you have access to clean air, to clean water, or how much pollution you're exposed to growing up. There's so many things that are decided at the polls. And it's amazing just to consider how easy it is to vote because we can vote by mail, we can vote also in person. We just have to, get involved and stay active. Do what you're doing right now, like watching, being a part of this forum, because our elected officials will make decisions that impact every stage of our lives and the lives of those around us. But you can influence those decisions directly by engaging in this electoral process and also voting at every election, including the upcoming March 5th primaries. So I don't think we've explained yet what primaries are during this webinar, but primary elections in California are like the first step in picking who gets to represent us. It's where we choose our favorite candidates from our own political group, or it's basically where we choose which candidates are going to make it to the general election. The winners move forward in the main election, deciding who will run for this important position is really important right now. Right now is our chance to make sure that the candidate who share our values and our priorities are going to be on that final ballot. So the time is now, March 5th, to make sure that we participate in the primary elections. So in honor of March 5th, the primary election date, I'm going to share 5 practical tips on how we as young individuals can get involved in our elections. So number 1, register to vote with family and friends. In California, don't forget, just like I said earlier, you can do this online. It takes less time to complete than it would to scroll through IG. And remember, it's at registertovote.ca.gov. Number 2, leverage your connections. Share information about elections on your social media platforms. You don't have to be a so-called expert, but you can take the lead on following and reposting trusted sources like CNC EdFund. Advocating for voting with your family is also really important. You don't even have to leave your home. You can just remind your brother and sister, your mom and dad, hey, let's get out and vote. Number 3, engage with student organizations. No matter how old you are, if you're a student, I guarantee you there's going to be a campus organization focused on civic engagement already. If there isn't, this is your call to start one because you're on this forum for a reason. So get out there and be a leader. Number 4, share your personal voting stories. Your personal story matters so much. We're making a whole campaign around 12 stories right now with the Lucete Latina campaign. So every story, every individual matters, and that's how we uplift the priorities that we have in our families and in our neighborhoods. And number 5, explore volunteer opportunities and local events and town halls. So thank you for being here with us during this town hall. This is the type of stuff that we need to keep doing. This is going to get you not only more connections with people who are like-minded, but also it's going to get you more informed about the issues that are important to you and also get to know what's important to the people around you. It's really important that we stay united, that we look out for each other, and that we head out together to vote, whether that's by mail or in person at the polls. So that's just my call to young voters to get engaged, to stay active. And I want to thank all the young voters and future voters who are here watching with us today.
Thank you, Karina. I love what you said about incorporating voting in our everyday lives. And so when you talk about, featuring voting information at quinceañeras, we don't have to wait for an organization to do this. We don't have to wait for someone else to broach the subject. We can take that power and, just talk about it with our friends and family in whatever spaces we're sharing already. And so I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, this is a new era of youth leadership. I have a 9-year-old daughter who thinks, and speaks without any hesitation about what she cares about. She boldly claims her space and her vision for a future where people live without fear of displacement from their homes and don't struggle to meet their basic needs. She uses a wheelchair and absolutely expects this world will rise to the occasion of her dreams and passions, whether to become a pop star icon, better than Taylor Swift, or president of the country. And I love that. And it's tied directly into the inspiring work that our second video is going to relate to, and the Latino and Black youth being the drivers of change and not being afraid to bring their full selves to the conversation. And this is the world as it should be, absolutely. So this is featuring Alicia Olivares from Power, California.
Lucete Latina. Alicia Olivares. I am the Associate Director at Power CA Action. Being Latina in Fresno is something I am incredibly proud of. I am proud to call the Central Valley home, and I'm inspired by the work of our parents and immigrants who come here to build a different life, but also this next generation of folks, often Latinas, often women, who are leading a different way, who are gonna be the electeds, who are leading this work to build organizations, to build movements where we're empowered to make changes in our communities. The incredible power our region has, the working class and labor of immigrant families like mine are essential to California. We need to step into our power as millennial, as Gen Z voters of color, particularly here in the Valley as Latino young voters. We have a lot of power. Latinos are powerful not just because we could be the deciding vote. We're often the drivers of change, and we bring the hustle and we get stuff done. Lucete. Lucete on election day.
Awesome. We are the drivers of change and we bring the hustle. I'm so happy to go from that to introducing you, Angela. So Angela is with Courage California, and Courage California's mission is to unite and equip Californians to hold leaders accountable and take courageous action for change by providing accessible and trustworthy tools all Californians can use, and providing the resources voters need through every step of their civic engagement journey. We need that. We need your help. I'm excited to share more about what you have to, what resources you have to share, Angela. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hatsune. So like Hatsune mentioned, Courage California's mission is to unite and equip Californians to hold leaders accountable and take courageous action for change. So we provide accessible and trustworthy tools that all Californians can use. And we really provide the resources that voters need through every step of the civic engagement journey, which is one of my favorite things. We start with you from the moment you have an interest in civic engagement, and we walk you through voting, and we walk you all the way through holding those representatives that you do elect accountable. So we really do have the full circle of civic engagement under Courage California's umbrella, which I really enjoy and appreciate. Because if you were like me, you have probably already received your ballot and a couple guides to go with it that were really thick booklets. And as even the most educated voter can tell you, it's a lot to go through, and you're not alone, which is why I really appreciate Courage's tools. I use them myself. So when I go through these tools, just remember that you can use the Q&A feature if you have any questions. And during a portion of this, I will share my screen just so you can see a couple of the tools we do have that's offered that is really simple to use. But first, I'm going to share with you a little bit about our Courage California Institute organization. It is our C3 arm of our little family of organizations. We have a Know Your Power educational blog series that really aims to help voters understand and navigate politics in California. So that can be anything from campaign funding to ballot referendums to just how to participate in different movements. So it really does really start at the beginning of how politics works and how voting works. On that Courage California Institute resource area, we also have voter registration tools where visitors can easily verify their voter registration, register to vote, and even sign up for election email reminders. So Courage California Institute is where you start if you are just getting started in civic engagement, you're interested, you don't know where to start, you want to learn more, you want to understand how our Supreme Courts work, how our election process works, how the legislature works, that is really your place to learn and also get registered to vote. So I'll point you all there first. And now once you get all registered to vote, we also have our Courage Voter Guide. Now, our Courage Voter Guide is community-driven resource to help all Californians vote their values at the ballot box. Our voter guide highlights candidates' priority issues, their endorsements, campaign contributions, and even governing records, and their history of leadership in their communities. We also provide an overview of the seat the candidate is running for, and help unpack any misinformation about that race or about the candidate. The voter guide is down ballot, it's statewide, but it's also customizable based on your region, county, and it's multi-issue. So with that, I am going to share my screen real quick just to kind of give you a preview of what that looks like. So this here is the Courage California Voter Guide. Here you can see some great icons showing, what type of money they take, don't take. We have the different senators, statewide ballot measures. When you go here, you can go to any county. You can locate your guide based on where you're located. So it makes it super easy. So I'll go ahead and just do Madera County because that's where I'm at. That's where my cursor was at. So, and here you could see all the different things that are happening in Los Angeles County versus Madera County, but it's okay. Let's still check out Madera. So here we have, of course, the federal. Then we have, 13th Congressional District. There we go, Adam Gray. So you'll see that he takes no corporate money, no police money, no fossil fuel money, or no real estate money. And it also kind of gives a rundown of who he is, what he's doing, a little bit about the race and the district he's running in, and any positions that he's had. So it's a really helpful tool. It really helps you vote what we call down ballot, meaning that there's more than just one question on the ballot. And some of it can be a bit tricky to answer, especially if you're not familiar with some of these races that aren't talked about that often. It really does help you go through the entire one. That way you don't have to miss a question. And then, so once we get you all educated on the political system, we get you registered to vote, and now we help you at the ballot box. Like, as I said, this is customizable. Share it with anybody in California and they could pull up their own voter guide. But once that happens and they get in office, the next thing we want to do is know how to hold them accountable, which is where we're going next. So I present you all with our wonderful Courage score, which is, I said the voter guide's pretty cool and Courage is pretty cool. Yes, but the Courage score is amazing. And I feel like there's a lot of head nods going on, so people agree with this. So our annual Courage score is an accountability tool that provides Californians with the receipts. So they show just how the elected officials showed up for work and their willingness to courageously stand up and vote in the best interest of the people and families that they serve. So, and this is over the interest of corporate lobbyists with deep pockets who tend to exploit California's diverse communities. So for our Courage score is easy to use, and it gives voters the crucial information needed to hold elected officials accountable. So as you can see here, you can search by address. You can also search by legislator. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up someone that Hatsune mentioned earlier when we were talking about housing. She's someone who is a Courage All-Star, which means 100% she has our vote, right? 2, she's also someone that we've endorsed, and she's a housing advocate. So let's just go ahead and pull her up because we want to make sure we really want to vote for her. Okay, there she is, Tina. Miss Tina McKenna, right? So here it gives you a little bit of a rundown of who she is, what she does, where her district is located. And it also gives you her votes. And one of my favorite pieces about this, you can pull it up based on the issue area. So you can categorize, organize based on what you care about. So here we see her housing votes. We can also see what money she's taken. And we can see how other partners have graded her. So if you're someone that really cares about health or criminal justice reform, you can see how other partners that are single issue areas also graded our Courage Score, All-Stars, or Hall of Shamers, we call them. So you can see all the representatives. I'm just pulling these up so you can kind of see the way the grades go back and forth. Let's go ahead. Oh, this one has a 2. So, and this can be used by any, doesn't matter what party you come from, what you lean. Yes, you can see how we Courage gave them because it's based on how courageously they acted. But you can also just see the raw information. So if you are just curious to see how they voted, you can see how they voted. If you're just curious to see how much money they took, you can see how much money they took. If you're just curious to see how other partners graded them, you can see. So regardless of the actual Courage Score, because you might not be leaning in certain directions, but you could also still see the information, and you can also see their lifetime votes, which is really great. So for those folks that are leaving the legislature, maybe going to Congress, maybe going to other positions, if they have a record in the legislature, we have it here, and you can see how they voted. It will give you a good sense of how they're going to vote in the future. So as I said with this, our wonderful Courage Score is searchable by name, by address. You can filter votes by issue area or by year. It shows corporate donors, partner scorecards, and you could also connect with them right here. So you can contact them directly from this page. And this is so important because they need to hear from you. If you think they're doing a great job, tell them. If you think they're doing a horrible job, tell them. Because I promise you, they're hearing from lobbyists. But who they're not hearing from are the constituents. So if they don't hear from their constituents and all they hear from is from lobbyists, then that's who's talking in their ear. So let them know. If you think they're doing a stellar job and you're super glad they voted a certain way, let them know. Let them know that you're paying attention, and also let them know that you're going to hold them accountable if they don't represent their constituents right. So visit couragescore.org to find out who your representatives are, see if they're representing your values, let them hear from you. And when they're up for re-election, use Courage Score to vote your values at the ballot box. So I'll go ahead and close this. So through our tools and advocacy, Courage California is working to unite for a more courageous California from start to finish. With Courage, we can learn how to become engaged, register to vote, make informed decisions at the ballot box, and hold our representatives accountable to you, to our families, and to our communities. So please do feel free to share our tools and also check them out for yourself. And you see that if you can share the slide real quick on the different tools I just shared. Perfect, thank you. So here's everything that I just mentioned. We have the Courage California Institute, Courage Score, and Courage Voter Guide. So please feel free to check those out. And as I said, share them. And of course, reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was so much great information. And, you know, it just looks so easy to use, and it's such a good starting point for voters. We know from research as well that voters of color really want to make sure that they get it right, which means, right, they want to make sure that their votes count and that they're making their votes really matter on the issues that they care about. And this is such an really wonderful way to start out and figure out, you know, who is going to vote and who is going to represent me the way I want them to. So thank you so much. And I know people have been putting in a lot of questions. They did ask, what toolkit can I use? What can I share with my friends and family? And so, you know, again, there's a really great information from Courage California. You can go to their website, you can go to their social media pages, and they can point you in the directions of all of the different links that were on that share out page. So thanks again.
Yeah, and I'd just like to reiterate that the Courage Voter Guide is available for the primary and general election. If there's an election, chances are we're on it. So you can always check back.
100% on it. We can count on you. I love it. Thank you. So other questions that have come up already, and you know, please feel free to continue adding your questions to the chat, but I think I'll just go ahead and share some that have been already written in our Q&A section for the benefit of everyone. One question is everyone able to vote in the primary elections? You have to vote for the party you are registered with. And thank you so much, Lisa, for, you know, answering some of these questions for us already. And she was quick to point out anyone can vote, and you can vote for any party because California has an open primary. Also, there are many offices that are nonpartisan. So for instance, city council, that's not affiliated with a specific party. One question that I really enjoyed seeing was about, you know, when was there the highest number of Latinas who voted? And Lisa shared that the highest level of Latina turnout was in 2020. Let's make it 2024 as we can do this. And then, you know, again, as a Latina in the Valley, people are asking in a lot of different kinds of ways, like, what can I do? How can I empower my friends, my networks, my neighborhood? And I think we've talked about it a lot, but we need you to talk to your friends and family, volunteer with a local organization, talk to your neighbors, share your voting story with your friends and family on social media. You know, I remember just even calling up my dad once and saying, hey, I really need you to vote this way, and this is why, and this is my story. And I was so pleased with that conversation because, of course, he said, of course, I'll vote that way because I care about you. And it was so lovely. And so we can do that. Let's be brave. Let's call our friends. Let's call our family. Just have those one-on-one conversations. And then we can make a plan, right? Like, it can be scary for somebody who's a first-time voter. I filled out my ballot, but where do I take it? Well, let's go together. Or, oh, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I just went to a library in my neighborhood, and the ballot box was right there outside. I didn't even have to go inside of anywhere. Like, it was so easy, no big deal. Let's just remind our friends and our family members who might be going for the first time, it's okay. We got you. This is easy. Sometimes on social media, it's fun to take a picture of what the ballot box literally looks like. If that's going to help, let's do it. And then somebody asked, you know, as a first-time voter, what are some tips you can give me? And Lisa, you know, again, pointed them to the progressivevotersguide.com/California. You know, there's a great guide that the League of Women Voters provides for first-time voters, vote411.org/make-your-plan. And then also we always encourage you to go to the Secretary of State's website if, you know, you want to look for where your ballot box is and just all of the finer details. And then how can we approach those who don't believe in voting or believe that they don't think voting can make a change? And I love this answer that Lisa provided, and that was focus on the things they care about and talk through with them how elected officials and government offices affect that issue. So help them see that their voice matters in a respectful and supportive way, and that if voting really didn't matter, and this is so true, there wouldn't be so much effort made to keep us from voting. You know, and then how long do you think it will be before a Latina runs for president? And I have to say, you know, and I love Lisa said, you know, we've had many Latinas who are interested, but they need support. And I think they need our support, right? They need our support to tell them, you can do this. You will have my vote. I will listen to you. I will knock on doors with you. I will donate to your campaign. I will take you seriously as a candidate. They need our support. And then one last question I'll rest with was, can the Latina vote have the power to change the political landscape of California? And if you think about the top three issues that Latinas care about, which we know are healthcare, affordable housing, and let's see, I'm looking through for
Jobs.
And jobs.
Inflation. People are concerned about inflation.
So if you think about Latinas voting in a collective, all of us really turning out and making sure that we're heard on those issues, we can absolutely make a difference in our everyday lives and in the political landscape, because we will have people who are championing for those issues. So that is absolutely possible and happening as we speak. Any final thoughts from others before we end?
I just want to lift up what Karina said and just remind folks, those conversations you have with your friends, those conversations you have with your family, posting on social media that you voted, right, or that you're paying attention to that campaign or the things that you care about, really actually does work. There's evidence that it works, and it really, if you think of it as ripples, right, because you bring something up and then somebody else brings something up, and you really are kind of having an impact on what people are talking about. And at the end of the day, folks who aren't comfortable, it's often just because they feel uncertain. I think it was Hatsune, you were talking about how much people worry about making a mistake, right? And so the more you can get good, positive, high quality information into your networks and get people talking about that information, the better we'll all be in terms of our ability to make good choices at the ballot box.
Yes, love it. Also, somebody asked, where can I find more of these videos? I want to share them out. So you can go ahead and visit our CNC Education Fund channel on YouTube. You can also visit our CNC, let's see, this way, edfund.org website, and you will point you in the direction of our videos and just keep you updated as we continue our Lucete Latina and Lucete everybody, really, let's do this campaign. So thanks again to everyone for being with us. Karina and Angela, any last thoughts? And then I'll really close, I promise.
I'll go ahead and just remind people that you can be the shero of our election story. So don't shy away, mail it in, go in person, post about it on social media. Those are all shero acts.
I love it. Thank you. Angela, anything else?
I would say just reach out if you ever have any questions. Follow us on our different, social media handles? Yeah, follow us there. We're always sharing information. If there's ever anything you have questions on, feel free to DM us, to shoot us an email. We are always more than happy to help. And if there's not a resource yet available, you might have the idea that there should be a resource available. So please always ask.
Yes, that's great. I think that's a perfect place to end. Thanks everyone for being with us, and we look forward to counting your vote March 5th.